There's something sacred about the early morning. The world is still, the air feels pure, and the soul seems to whisper louder than at any other time of day. These hours are not ordinary, they are hours blessed by Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, Allah, bless my ummah in their early mornings. And this isn't just a do, it's a spiritual secret, a divine formula for success, peace, and productivity. When you rise at Fajr, when you wake before the sun touches the horizon, you are not just waking your body, you are awakening your soul. The angels witness your worship. The heart that bows before dawn carries a light that no hardship can dim. The morning is when Allah pours His unseen blessings into the world. But only those who are awake to receive them. Think of it like rain. Those who step out will be soaked in barakah, while those who sleep through it will never know what they missed. We live in a time where sleep is worshipped and rush replaces reflection. Yet Islam gently reminds us success doesn't begin with movement. It begins with stillness. Before you enter the noise of the world, you need to stand before the one who controls it. When you pray Fajr, you are declaring, "Why Allah, you come before my desires, before my comfort, before my sleep." And in return, Allah places ease in your day. He expands your time, blesses your work, and gives clarity to your thoughts. Have you ever noticed how the day feels lighter when it begins with prayer? How your mind feels calmer, how blessings seem to flow effortlessly. That's not coincidence, that's barakah. It's not something you can measure with clocks or schedules. It's something you feel. It's the divine multiplication of time, peace, and purpose. Fajr is not just a prayer, it's a doorway. Through it, you enter a day written with light. And when you miss it, your day feels heavy because your soul began without its nourishment. Yasmin Mogahed often says, the calm you seek is hidden in your connection with Allah. The early hours are your invitation to that connection. The stillness of dawn speaks a language only the heart understands. It says, come back to the one who never sleeps. In those quiet minutes, when the world is silent and the only sound is your whisper to your Creator, you are closest to truth. You are reminded that everything you chase during the day, success, peace, love, flows from the one you meet in the morning. So don't waste your mornings scrolling through screens or rushing into the world empty. Use them to fill your soul. Begin with Fajr, sit in silence, make dhikr, and watch how Allah transforms your entire day. Barakah isn't about how much you do, it's about how much Allah puts into what you do. And Fajr is the key that unlocks it. The morning belongs to those who value it, and the one who owns the morning owns their life. Privacy is a form of protection, not isolation, because Islam teaches that the unseen carries both spiritual strength and safety. When something is private, it is guarded by the veil of Allah's mercy, untouched by the opinions, judgments, and energies of people. In a world where exposure is celebrated and oversharing is mistaken for authenticity, protecting what is sacred becomes an act of spiritual intelligence. The Prophet advised us to keep certain aspects of life hidden, our intentions, our struggles, our future plans, because privacy preserves purity. It shields your peace from eyes that may not understand your journey and hearts that may not wish you well. Privacy doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or becoming distant. It means choosing depth over display. It's knowing that not every joy needs to be shared publicly and not every pain deserves an audience. When you keep your private life between you and Allah, you protect your heart from the noise of unnecessary validation. You begin to operate from sincerity rather than performance, from connection rather than comparison. In silence, your intentions remain sincere. Your work becomes worship, and your progress is sustained by divine blessing instead of worldly applause. There is wisdom in concealment, because not every soul can handle your story. Some people see your growth and feel threatened by it, while others may unknowingly cast doubt upon what Allah has blessed you with. The evil eye is real, and so is the unseen energy that flows through envy and gossip. Islam calls believers to guard their blessings until they are complete, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the source who gave them. When you protect your privacy, you are not hiding, you are honoring what Allah has entrusted you with. Even the heart has its sacred doors that not everyone should be allowed to enter. Your relationship with Allah, your private prayers, your acts of charity done in secret, all of these are treasures that grow in the soil of privacy. The quieter your relationship with Allah becomes, the stronger it grows. The less the world sees of your private worship, the more Allah beautifies your inner state. Privacy is not loneliness, it is spiritual independence. It is choosing to let Allah witness your life before anyone else. Oversharing invites energy that isn't meant for you, because every time you expose your thoughts, plans, or emotions to the public eye, you open invisible doors that not everyone should have access to. In Islam, there is deep wisdom in keeping certain matters between yourself and Allah. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Seek help in fulfilling your needs by being discreet, for everyone who is blessed is envied." This teaching reminds us that not everyone who listens to you listens with a pure heart. Some will understand, others will judge, and some will project their fears or envy onto your journey. The energy that comes from their reactions, spoken or unspoken, can influence your spiritual and emotional balance in ways you may not even realize. When you share your dreams before they are complete, you invite voices that can plant seeds of doubt. When you share your struggles in spaces that lack empathy, you expose your vulnerability to those who might misuse it. Every soul carries an energy, and not all energies are meant to mingle with yours. Islam calls us to protect our inner world because it is delicate, sacred, and easily influenced. The moment you make your private life public, you surrender part of your spiritual safety to the unpredictable emotions of others. Oversharing also weakens sincerity. When every good deed or spiritual milestone is shared, the line between seeking Allah's pleasure and seeking people's approval becomes blurred. What was once an act of pure intention can turn into a performance. The heart starts to crave acknowledgement instead of divine acceptance. True peace lies in knowing that Allah sees what the world does not. The greatest acts of worship, the ones that transform hearts, are often those hidden from every eye except His. In our time, social media amplifies this danger. The culture of constant sharing has made people feel that silence means insignificance. But in truth, silence is strength. The believer finds comfort in unseen blessings, not public applause. The moment you begin to chase validation, you unknowingly give others the power to define your worth. Oversharing becomes a trap that drains emotional energy and breeds anxiety, because the more you share, the more you feel watched, and the less authentic your peace becomes. There is also a spiritual dimension to this. The unseen world operates through both light and darkness, and when you constantly expose your life, you attract both. Just as blessings descend through remembrance and gratitude, harm can approach through envy and ill intentions. The heart needs quiet space to breathe, to heal, to grow without being observed. When everything sacred becomes content, its sanctity begins to fade. Protecting your privacy allows your soul to develop in peace, protected from the chaos of opinions and unseen influences that seek to disturb what Allah is shaping within you. The less you share, The more you preserve the divine energy of what was meant only for you, silence is a form of strength because it teaches the soul to rise above reaction and to anchor itself in reflection. In a world that constantly urges people to speak, defend, explain, and justify, silence becomes a rare act of spiritual power. Islam honors silence not as weakness, but as wisdom. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent." These words are not simply about manners. They are about mastery. They remind us that silence is not emptiness. It is control, presence, and trust in Allah's timing. When you learn to be silent, you stop giving others the power to dictate your peace. You start understanding that not every argument deserves your energy, and not every misunderstanding requires your clarification. Silence allows truth to stand on its own. Sometimes the louder you speak, the further you move from being understood. When you choose silence, you choose dignity over debate. You protect your soul from the exhaustion of trying to prove yourself to hearts that are not ready to listen. You stop reacting to every provocation and start responding only when guided by wisdom. Silence is not suppression, it is sacred restraint. It is the art of knowing that Allah hears even what you do not say, and He will defend what you cannot express. In moments of pain or injustice, silence becomes a testimony of patience. The Quran tells us about the story of Maryam's Aest, who, when faced with accusation and humiliation, was commanded to remain silent. Her silence was not weakness, it was divine instruction. Allah Himself became her defender. Through her silence, the truth spoke louder than words ever could. Similarly, when you choose silence in the face of misunderstanding, you are declaring that your trust is not in people's approval, but in Allah's justice. Your calm becomes your protection, and your composure becomes your strength. Silence also purifies intention. When you are constantly speaking, the heart becomes cluttered with pride, the desire to be right, or the need to be seen. But when you remain silent, you create space within the soul for sincerity to grow. Silence teaches humility. It reminds you that not every thought needs to be voiced, and not every opinion needs to be shared. The one who practices silence learns to listen to others, to the signs of Allah, and to the whispers of their own heart. It is in this listening that wisdom is born. The scholars of Islam often said that silence is the gate to knowledge, because the more you listen, the more you understand, and the more you understand, the less you feel the need to speak. Silence guards relationships and hearts. Many conflicts begin with words spoken in haste, and many hearts break because of speech that could have been withheld. The tongue is light, but its impact is heavy. Every word carries energy. It can heal or it can harm. Silence is the shield that protects you from the regret of careless speech. It gives time for emotions to settle and for perspective to return. In silence, you learn to let Allah handle what your words cannot. You realize that not every situation requires explanation, and not every person deserves access to your inner world. Silence deepens spirituality because it pulls you inward, away from distraction and noise, toward the remembrance of Allah. When you sit in quiet reflection, you begin to feel the nearness of your Creator. The heart, when stilled, becomes a mirror that reflects divine presence. Through silence, you reconnect with your soul and strengthen your ability to hear what cannot be heard with the ears. The whispers of guidance, the comfort of faith, and the subtle voice of peace that lives within every believer. The heart needs boundaries, like a garden needs fences, because without protection, even the most beautiful spaces can be trampled, invaded, and stripped of their peace. The human heart was created as a sacred place, a dwelling for faith, love, and divine remembrance. But when it is left open to everyone and everything, it loses its sanctity. Islam teaches that the heart is the core of one's being. If it is pure, the entire self is pure. That purity, however, cannot survive without boundaries. Just as a garden thrives when it is fenced to keep harmful forces out and nourishment within, the heart flourishes when it is guarded with wisdom, self-respect, and spiritual awareness. In the garden of the heart, your emotions are the flowers, your intentions are the roots, and your faith is the sunlight. When there are no fences, weeds of negativity, envy, and manipulation begin to grow. People who are not meant to walk through your inner world leave footprints that disturb your peace. You begin to carry burdens that were never yours. Boundaries, therefore, are not walls of pride, but walls of preservation. They are not meant to keep love away, but to keep it sacred. They ensure that what you give and receive flows with sincerity rather than exhaustion. Allah designed the heart to love deeply, but He also commands believers to love wisely. Boundaries are acts of mercy toward the self. They prevent the heart from pouring into places that do not value its water. Too often, people think kindness means endless availability, but true kindness requires discernment. Even the Prophet Muhammad, whose compassion was unmatched, had moments of solitude, distance, and reflection. He showed that love does not mean constant access. It means knowing when to give and when to retreat, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to forgive and when to protect your peace. Without fences, a garden may still exist, but it will not thrive. Animals may eat its fruit, weeds may choke its roots, and careless footsteps may crush its flowers. The same is true for the heart. When you allow everyone to enter through overexposure, emotional dependence, or lack of discernment, you begin to lose your spiritual strength. Every person you allow too close carries their own energy, and not all energy aligns with yours. Islam teaches emotional balance through modesty, through guarding not only the body but also the heart. Modesty is not just about dress. It is about the quiet dignity of protecting your inner space. Boundaries also teach others how to treat you. When you respect your own limits, you invite respect from those around you. You communicate that your heart is not a public park, but a private garden tended by faith. Those who are meant to stay will honor the fences. Those who were only passing through will leave when they cannot climb them. This separation is not cruelty. It is divine wisdom at work. The heart was never meant to be open to every voice or every influence. It was meant to be selective, to filter through truth and falsehood, to protect the divine light within from being dimmed by the world. Every believer must learn to place boundaries around their spiritual energy. You cannot be everything for everyone without losing yourself in the process. Even acts of service and love must flow from a heart that is whole, not one that is wounded. When you protect your peace, you are protecting your ability to serve Allah with sincerity. Boundaries keep your intentions clean, your love healthy, and your soul light. They allow you to give without resentment, to help without depletion, and to care without losing balance. The heart with no boundaries becomes a place of noise, confusion, and exhaustion. But the heart that learns to say no, to step back, and to filter what enters becomes a place of serenity. It is like a garden enclosed by faith, where only what nourishes may enter and what harms is kept away. Within that enclosure, beauty grows quietly, unseen by the world, but fully known to Allah. Boundaries give your heart space to heal, to bloom, to reconnect with the purpose it was created for. They allow love to remain pure, worship to remain focused, and peace to remain unshaken by the chaos around you. Not every truth deserves an audience, because wisdom is not only about what we know, but also about when and how we share it. The heart of a believer is a vessel of countless truths, some beautiful, some painful, some meant to be lived quietly in the space between the soul and its creator. Islam teaches that discernment is a sign of maturity, that silence can sometimes speak louder than revelation, and that not every truth is meant to be exposed to the light of public opinion. The Prophet Muhammad taught his companions to guard their words with the same care they guard their deeds. For a word spoken in haste can cause more harm than an act done in anger. This is because truth, when spoken to the wrong audience or at the wrong time, loses its blessing. There is a reason why the Quran describes knowledge as both light and responsibility. Light can illuminate, but it can also blind if shown too brightly in unprepared eyes. Some truths are like sacred treasures meant to be protected within the heart, where they nourish quietly instead of being displayed. The believer understands that revelation is not always for declaration. Sometimes Allah allows you to understand something deeply so that it changes you, not so that you can argue, prove, or impress others. When you begin to speak every truth that crosses your mind, you risk cheapening what was meant to remain sacred. The Prophet said, part of the perfection of one's Islam is leaving that which does not concern him. This includes not only actions but also words. Not every person is ready to receive the truth you have discovered. Some may twist it, others may reject it, and some may weaponize it against you. There are times when your silence protects your truth more effectively than your speech ever could. In the spiritual path, restraint is an act of strength. Just because something is true does not mean it needs to be shared. Truth without context can wound. Truth without wisdom can divide. Allah himself withholds certain knowledge from his servants out of mercy, revealing only what the heart can handle. Likewise, you must learn to measure your words with compassion and patience, ensuring that what you reveal benefits and does not harm. There are truths about yourself that are meant to remain between you and Allah. Your private struggles, your inner healing, your secret acts of worship, these are not content for public consumption. When you share too much of your spiritual journey, you invite opinions that can pollute your intention. The heart's connection with Allah is delicate. It grows best in privacy, like a seed planted in quiet soil. When you start broadcasting every stage of your spiritual growth, you risk shifting your focus from Allah's pleasure to people's reactions. The purity of worship is protected through concealment, not exposure. What is between you and Allah should remain unfiltered, unseen, and sacred. Even in relationships, not every truth is meant to be spoken at every moment. Honesty in Islam is a virtue, but wisdom is its companion. The Prophet was known for his truthfulness, yet he was also known for his tact. He taught that truth should be spoken with gentleness and discretion, not as a weapon of self-righteousness. There are times when silence preserves peace, where truth spoken harshly would only ignite pain. The aim is not to hide deception, but to uphold harmony. Just as a doctor does not reveal every diagnosis without care, the believer does not share every truth without compassion. In an age where everyone feels entitled to express every opinion, where personal truths are displayed like trophies for validation, Islam calls us back to humility. The more we speak, the less we listen. The more we expose, the less we protect. Not every feeling needs to be posted. Not every insight needs to be shared. And not every truth needs to be proven. Silence is not dishonesty. It is a form of discipline. It is the awareness that some truths lose their power when taken out of their sacred space. When you share a personal revelation too early, it becomes vulnerable to misunderstanding, ridicule, or corruption. Many divine lessons are meant to mature in silence before they are ready to be spoken. Allah's wisdom in revealing the Quran gradually over 23 years shows the divine principle of timing. Even truth requires the right moment and the right heart to receive it. This teaches believers that rushing to speak can disrupt divine order. There is a rhythm in revelation, a sacred pace that must be respected. Sometimes your role is not to teach, but to embody the truth until Allah Himself allows the right time for it to reach others. Guarding your truth is a form of protecting your peace. Every truth carries energy, and when you share it with those unprepared, you disperse that energy into spaces where it cannot grow. Not every listener is a learner. Not every questioner seeks understanding. Some only seek argument, and engaging them drains the soul. When you keep certain truths private, you preserve their light. You allow them to strengthen you internally instead of being consumed externally. The Quran describes believers as those who are firm in speech and patient in their silence. The heart becomes stronger when it holds its truths with grace. The believer learns to discern between speaking to express and speaking to heal, between revealing for clarity and revealing for ego. The one who guards their truths guards their soul. They walk through life with a quiet certainty, carrying within them the wisdom that not every truth needs to be told, to be lived. Protecting your peace is an act of faith, because peace is not merely an emotional state. It is a form of divine trust. The heart of a believer was never meant to be a battlefield of anxiety, bitterness, and chaos. It was designed to be a sanctuary of remembrance, a place where tranquility resides through the nearness of Allah. When Islam calls for inner peace, it is not asking for passivity. It is inviting the believer to guard what Allah has entrusted them with, the serenity of their soul. To protect your peace means to protect your connection with Allah, and that is an act of worship. It is saying, I value what Allah has placed within me enough to not let the world steal it. Every day, the world pulls at your peace. People's opinions, disappointments, failures, and noise try to invade the stillness within you. But faith teaches that peace is sacred and must be guarded the same way one guards prayer, faith, and purity. The Prophet Muhammad faced hostility, rejection, and loss, yet his heart remained anchored in calm. He did not allow the chaos around him to dictate the condition of his soul. This was not because he was unaffected by pain. It was because he was protected by purpose. Protecting your peace is a form of tawakkul, trust in Allah. It is the understanding that not every battle requires your sword, not every comment deserves your reply, and not every wound needs to be reopened. Some matters are best handed to Allah, and that surrender itself is peace. Peace in Islam is not found in control, it is found in surrender. The believer learns that trying to manage every outcome only leads to exhaustion. True serenity comes when you release what is beyond you and trust that Allah's plan is wiser than your worry. Protecting your peace means refusing to let external chaos disrupt internal faith. It means keeping your heart steady even when circumstances are unstable. Allah says in the Quran, verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. This verse reminds us that peace is not something you find in the world. It is something you cultivate within through dhikr, prayer, and presence with your Creator. To protect your peace is also to set boundaries with people, habits, and environments that drain your soul. Faith is not about tolerating everything until you collapse. It is about recognizing what harms your spirit and stepping away before it poisons your light. Islam teaches balance, not extreme detachment nor excessive attachment. You can love others deeply while still preserving your spiritual center. The Prophet loved his companions dearly, yet he also spent time in solitude, retreating to the cave of Hira, seeking silence and reflection. His example shows that solitude is not loneliness, it is spiritual maintenance. Protecting your peace often requires moments of withdrawal, where you disconnect from the noise of creation to reconnect with the Creator. Peace is also protected through forgiveness. Holding on to anger and resentment is like holding fire. It burns the one who carries it. When you forgive for the sake of Allah, you are not excusing injustice. You are freeing your heart from captivity. Allah promises that those who pardon others will have their own sins pardoned. Letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is understanding that your peace is worth more than the satisfaction of revenge. When you protect your heart from bitterness, you are preserving the environment where faith can grow. The heart cannot hold both rancor and remembrance at once. It must choose one. Protecting your peace also means being mindful of what you consume. The mind feeds the heart, and whatever you constantly expose yourself to will shape your inner world. Negative talk, gossip, comparison, and envy drain spiritual energy. The believer chooses what to allow into their environment with intention. The Prophet warned against idle talk and backbiting, not only because they harm others, but because they corrode the tranquility of one's own soul. Every word you hear, every image you see, every conversation you engage in, either nourishes your peace or disturbs it. Guarding your peace means curating your world so that it draws you closer to Allah instead of distracting you from Him. Another aspect of protecting peace is accepting what Allah has written. Many hearts are restless not because of what they lack, but because of what they refuse to accept. Sabra, patience, is not just waiting. It is the quiet strength to remain content with Allah's decree, even when you don't understand it. The moment you stop fighting what is beyond your control, peace begins to unfold. This acceptance is not defeat, it is faith. It is believing that even the delays, losses, and detours are signs of divine wisdom. The believer protects their peace by surrendering to the flow of Allah's plan, knowing that what is written for them will find them even if the world tries to block it. Protecting your peace requires guarding your energy, your time, and your focus. Every day, countless distractions compete for your attention. But when your heart is anchored in remembrance, you learn to choose presence over pressure, reflection over reaction. You begin to live deliberately, aligning your moments with purpose. The Prophet would wake early, engage in dhikr, and begin his day in serenity before meeting people. This rhythm of faith-centered living preserved his emotional and spiritual stability, even amid trials. Peace does not come by accident. It comes by structure, intention, and remembrance. Faith transforms how you protect your peace because it redefines what peace truly means. It is not the absence of noise, but the ability to remain still in its midst. It is not running away from hardship, but walking through it with trust. Every prayer you perform, every boundary you set, every harmful conversation you avoid, all of these are acts of faith. You are telling Allah that your heart belongs to Him, not to the chaos of the world. Peace becomes an amana, a trust to be nurtured and guarded carefully. When you prioritize your peace, you are prioritizing your relationship with Allah. When you protect your inner calm, you protect your ability to listen to divine guidance. The more you protect your peace, the more your heart aligns with the quiet rhythm of tawakkul, the silent trust that everything will unfold exactly as it was meant to